Look, hypnosis is synonymous with suggestion. If there's any one thing that we can agree on as hypnotists, and we're a very bickering bunch, we don't really agree on many things, is that suggestion lies at the root of hypnosis. No suggestion, no hypnosis. But I'll say this much. Whoever controls your attention controls you. The more you control your own attention, the more in charge of yourself you are. The more your environment controls your attention, the more your environment controls you. Could I have a volunteer come up to have a little discussion around suggestion language? Let's bring up Harry here, please. Hi, Harry. How are you doing?
Same as a second before.
Good. Glad nothing's changed in the meantime.
Nothing.
So just give me a sense of your background. How much do you know about hypnosis? Is your first time? Have you got a little bit of experience under your belt? Where are you at?
Well, I've been practicing hypnosis 5 years now.
Okay.
And I teach it in Croatia.
Okay. In that case, we're talking to a nicely experienced rounded hypnotist. I like that. So we're going to talk about a little bit about language, right? Look, hypnosis is synonymous with suggestion. If there's any one thing that we can agree on as hypnotists, and we're a very bickering bunch, we don't really agree on many things, is that suggestion lies at the root of hypnosis. No suggestion, no hypnosis. Would you tend to agree with this?
Yeah, it's part of hypnosis definition. Yeah, suggestion is the other part. After skipping the critical factor, then it's the suggestion.
Exactly. So if there's no suggestion, then we can't really say that we're working as hypnotists, right? So what is the nature of a suggestion? What does a suggestion do?
Well, a suggestion is aimed to change beliefs.
Right? What is the raw material a suggestion is made up of?
Well, it's an idea that helps us change the narrative or what we're living.
I love that definition. I think you put it spot on, right? So look, most people think of suggestions as a piece of language, something you say to someone that will have some kind of impact. And at a certain level, that's true. But I love the way that you framed it a little bit different. It's about ideas, right? It's ideas that matter. Because let's take a step back, right? Why do we use language as human beings? What's the purpose of language?
Communication.
Exactly. It's a transmission of idea. You get an idea in your mind, you formulate it into something that you can, into concepts. You have words that those concepts are related to, and then you transmit those words, usually by speaking, sometimes by writing, right? There's occasionally other methods as well, like sign language and so on, right? But the point of language, whether it's written, signed, or spoken, is that we're taking these ideas and we're presenting it to someone else so that they can pick up on a good guesstimate of idea. Because the idea we have is usually quite complex. And then the idea that someone else is left with will always be, there's going to be like you putting something through a photocopier, there's always going to be a slight erosion of the idea. But as long as it's close enough, then we're good to go. Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, if I can, for the last 6 days, I've been repeating a sentence. It's a wonder that we can understand each other.
Yes, it is. And
having in consideration all the levels of experience, life, and language barriers.
Yes,
I don't know why it's not that our conscious is not talking to each other. It's our subconscious that's actually communicating.
Yes, and it's a very complex piece of procedures, and we're really good at it, right? So we use language to achieve this, right? But language is something else. Because we're using language as a little vehicle, it's like kind of a little train that we pack ideas into and then send the train off for someone else to pick up on, right? There's something inherent in the nature of language that's going to be very useful to us as hypnotists. And that is language also directs attention. And attention is our core raw material in hypnosis. But I'll say this much. Whoever controls your attention controls you. The more you control your own attention, the more in charge of yourself you are. The more your environment controls your attention, the more your environment controls you. And if it's a specific actor in your environment, well, then that person controls you. Attention to human beings is everything, right? So as hypnotists, we're using language to both grab someone's attention and move it to somewhere. And what is the somewhere we're moving it to? To an idea that will hopefully help them transform. And as good, positive, life-affirming hypnotist, the idea should be, of course, good, positive, and life-affirming as opposed to anything else, right? So the nature of suggestion is essentially the presentation of ideas and capturing someone's attention around those ideas, which, if you think about it, goes right back to the James Braid definition of monoideism, right? Getting someone's mind wrapped around an idea so completely that there's no room left for other thoughts. At that point, that idea will tend to come to life. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah.
Perfect. If you found this insightful, make sure to subscribe for more fascinating discussions on the power of the mind and hypnosis.